everyone, and welcome down to episode number 9 of the Down South Photo Show. We are at episode 9 already. The weeks are flying by. It's been a lot of fun so far. Really enjoying bringing the podcast to you from here in Ocean Grove. And it is a very good evening to my friend Cam Blake down in Hobart Town. G'day, Cam.
G'day, Brent. How are you going today?
Yes, not bad at all, thank you.
That's
Keeping
good.
Warm.
Yeah, it's
still been pretty cold.
It's another chilly week. Yeah, absolutely. It's cold here tonight, and we've had a bit of snow over the last couple of days down here. So yeah, definitely
Nice
in the chilly area.
So really quickly, where is your background?
This is a shot that I took a couple of years ago in the Hooker Valley in New Zealand. Hello to any New Zealand watchers or listeners. So that's Mount Cook in the background, and it's a beautiful walk. You've probably done that walk, I'd imagine. Have you done that one?
No, I've been there, but I haven't done that walk.
Yeah, it's a beautiful walk. It's about 5k return, I think it is. So it's a little bit of a track, but it's all boardwalk and stuff. But yeah, we went a bit of a black and white theme tonight for those who aren't viewing. We've got black and white images, and yours looks like a cityscape.
This is Melbourne, Australia, in the background.
Beautiful.
I love shooting cities sometimes too. It's good to get into the city and shoot cityscapes rather than landscapes as well. It's sort of good to refresh and reset. But Melbourne is a very photogenic city, I reckon.
I agree. It's got some beautiful little laneways and little parks, and the buildings are cool. And Southgate, I find Southgate or the South area, whatever it is, down near the casino where all the new high-rises are, it's huge down there now. You could spend ridiculous days shooting down there. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and generally catches the light really well at sunrise and sunset. That cityscape that you can see behind me there, which is shot from the other side of the Yarra. What's the name of that bridge there? I can't remember.
Princess Bridge.
That'll be the one.
And that's Fed Square, and I gather
Square. You got it.
Flinders Street Station's behind your muscular body.
Look at you Melburnian.
Yeah. Well, we've worked in there for so long. We should know where things are. Yeah.
Well, it's been too long because of everything that's been going on. I was just saying off air that it's been a good couple of years since I've been wandering around the city. So keen to get back down there and check it out.
Yeah.
We're not going to muck around tonight. We are going to, first of all, thank everyone for subscribing and tuning in and all that. This has been fantastic. We're really enjoying the feedback that we're getting from everyone.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant. Really happy to take suggestions for topics for us to talk about as well. Yeah. We've got hundreds and thousands of them, but we'd like to know what you guys want us to talk about.
Yeah, and like I said, thanks everyone for watching and tuning in and subscribing. And last week we did the episode on copyright. We got some pretty cool questions and interaction with that. So yeah, I think we've said it before. This show and podcast is all about people listening, and if there's a topic that you think is interesting or something that people don't really touch on much in photography with landscapes, shoot us a message or shoot us a comment or shoot us an email, and we'll put it on the list of things to talk about.
Absolutely. Looking forward to hearing everyone's feedback. So our main topics that we're talking about tonight are the traps to avoid when you're shooting landscapes. Neither of us profess to be the world's greatest landscape photographers, and that's because we do occasionally fall into the traps of stuffing up when we're out taking photos, out trying to shoot landscapes. So
God, it's not film anymore.
Yeah, right. I know.
It's very expensive shooting landscapes with film these days.
I had a little experience with film during the week, which we might come back to later on.
Okay.
Cam, would you like to kick us off with?
Yeah.
Now, should we? You've got 3 tips, and I've got 3 tips.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you want to just go through your 3 first, or should we go one for one?
Let's go one for one.
Yes, I think that'll break it up nicely. I'm all for that.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I thought about this topic. And I think about it probably every time I go out and do a shoot. Really, is like what are the things I'm trying to avoid when shooting a landscape? You can go out there with a mindset, a plan that hey, I'm going to go shoot X, Y, or Z location, but sometimes it's good to have a what if happens or a WTF plan, as I like to call it. So yeah, one of the first things I look at if I'm going out to shoot landscape and I'm sort of planning my day out is I try to avoid sunny, bright days. Like if it's a beautiful clear sky, blue sky day, I generally try not to go out and shoot on those days. I like to have a little bit of cloud around, ideally a bit of moody weather, or a bit of a storm, or some thunderstorms are great, or some weather moving in where it's just not beautiful blue skies, because it just allows you to create a bit more mood when the day gets a bit longer or early morning. There's all that old saying, red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning, red sky at night, shepherd's delight. That rings true with landscape photography. You can tell if there's some crappy weather coming in the day, you might get a really, really dramatic sunrise to get up for. So my first thing to avoid is if I look at the weather, I avoid the sunny logo on the weather apps, and I look for a bit of cloud and a bit of overhead weather to make the shots a bit more interesting. That'd be my first one.
Yeah, that's bang on. It's the same for me as well. And generally speaking, when you say avoid sunny days, does that also refer to, like, so if it's a bright sunny day, you wouldn't necessarily want to shoot during the day, so between the hours of 10 and 4, for example, when the sun's at its highest. So it's really just a whole heap of contrast, and it's not, heavy shadows and that sort of stuff. You know
what I do, if I get a day like that, I'll still be out and about. Like, usually you go to a location, you're there for most of the day anyway, so you make hay while the sun shines. But I try, after the sort of nice light, after the early morning light disappears, I sort of switch to what we've got in the background here. I go black and white, because that's where blue skies and clouds and stuff like that work really well. Like, your shot behind you is perfect because it's got that perfectly blue, dark sort of blue sky that renders black and white or really dark, and it really just separates things really well. So if I am going to shoot on sunny days, I'll do the majority of the work early in the morning, late afternoon, but in the middle I'll get out the camera and do some black and white, or I'll switch that mode on. So yeah, you can still shoot, but yeah.
Would you also say this is why when you go out and shoot landscape, you're not just married to your ultra wide angle lens as well? Because when you go out and it happens to be a bright sunny day, let's say for example you're traveling, like you went up to the Flinders Ranges, I mean, you're only there for a limited amount of time, so it's not like you can just go, well, today's a write-off because it's bright and sunny. You're still going to want to chase photos, and that's why having a little bit of an arsenal of lenses in your bag can be really advantageous, so that you can shoot the detail of your area. So
absolutely.
Flowers, insects, which of course are the polar opposite, because that's when you want the bright sunny conditions for your macro shots, for example. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you're 100%. And I find that, like, Flinders Ranges is a great example. It was blue skies the whole time pretty much. I did a scenic flight around Wilpena Pound, and I did that at first light. I got on the very first flight I could, and then the rest of the day was bright and sunny. But that creates some interesting contrast, your textures, and certain shadowing on trees and stuff like that. And like I said, little micro type of landscapes as well. So having more than one wide angle lens in your kit is definitely a tip, and we'll probably touch on that tip in a second, I reckon.
Yeah, we will, but as per usual, we'll take our little tips and we'll pull them apart and milk them for all they're worth, because one topic that we are going to talk about in a future episode is drone photography.
Ooh.
And I find when shooting with my drone, I love doing what I call birds, or what everyone calls the bird's eye view, which is straight down. That's when the bright sunny days are awesome. So what we're saying here is, just because it's a bright sunny day, you don't write it off for photography. You just, in a lot of respects, you would write it off for your epic big sky landscape photography and that sort of stuff. It's not going to work as well, during the day when it's bright sunny conditions, but that's when you whip your drone out, or as I said before, get your other lenses out.
Exactly. You don't pack up and go home, but look at it gives you other options to play with then if it is bright and sunny.
Absolutely. So that's an awesome little.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. Let's see if we can go downhill from there, because here comes my number one.
What is your number one? Well, it's not necessarily number one, is it? It's the first one.
They're in no particular order.
We're not doing the Olympics here, are we? We're not doing gold, silver, and bronze tips, are we?
No, we're not. And when I looked at the podium of the park skateboarding today and realised that the combined ages of the gold medalist, the silver medalist, and the bronze medalist still didn't add up to my age, that was a wee bit depressing.
That's when you know. That's why you're on the couch and they're not.
Cameron, a 12-year-old won a silver medal today.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Just quickly on the side, I know this has got nothing to do with photography, but how good is Australia going? We are 4th on the medal count. We are such a good country. We kick big goals for a country with a small population when it comes to sports, and
we do, and we love going on about it too. But hey, it's awesome. I love it. I mean, the last couple of Olympics have been a wee bit flat. But now, as we record this, I think we're at 15 gold medals, which is
that's incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I would like to see the stats on Olympic Games that are held in our time zone.
Oh, you reckon? You reckon because
Yes.
it's in our time zone, we win
Well,
more?
I don't know. Just, could be some science to it. So
How about,
Sydney,
how,
we
about,
did.
how about we put that out to a viewer? If you've got time, research how many gold medals we've won in our time zone versus
Yes.
when it's the middle of the night when no one's watching.
And
Anyway.
this is when Seoul, South Korea gets thrown at me as, hey, I think we only won 4 gold medals at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. We
Yeah.
completely digress.
Yeah,
So my my number one tip is to check your gear regularly. And when I say check your gear regularly, it's more like make sure you have a good look over your gear before you put in the car, the night before. Have a look. Make sure, for goodness sake, make sure your batteries are charged. There's no more sinking feeling you can get than if you get out into, particularly at sunrise, and there's an epic sunrise going off, and you got to turn your camera on, and nothing happened.
No, and I think also with the battery's a great one as well. And like when we do workshops, it's when we get back from each day, it's like, okay, first thing, clean your gear, put your batteries on charge, because you're generally shooting early morning or late afternoon. Your shutter speeds get a bit longer, so you're draining the battery a bit longer each time. And then if you're rolling into Astro and you've got 10% on your battery, no, you're not going to get very well. So definitely charge that battery.
Which is when I sell cameras, it's people always. I will push a spare battery on everyone, and it's not to make more money. That kind of helps, but it's nothing to do with it. The fact is, if you go out with one battery, you will wish you had a spare.
Yeah.
If you go out with a spare, you'll probably never use it. But it's such good peace of mind.
It's like a spare tire on a car, though. You don't need it until you need it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And make sure that you've got your battery nice and charged. It's very, very handy. And to that end as well, for those of you using slightly older SLRs as well, you're probably noticing that your battery doesn't hold as much charge as it used to. And it will get to a point where it doesn't charge anymore. Lithium-ion batteries generally, if they're used regularly, you'll probably get 4 to 5 years out of them, and then they'll start to not hold as much charge and eventually completely cark it. So we do recommend buying new batteries probably every 4 to 5 years if you're hanging on to old gear. And this all comes under the one umbrella of checking your gear regularly. Also, for goodness sake, make sure you've got a spare memory card or room on your memory card. This has happened to me more times than I care to count, where I've gone out and grabbed the camera out and there's no memory card in the camera.
I did one of those. I was in Melbourne or Victoria last year, and I had a new camera I was playing around with, and I went out up to Mount Buller, up to Craig's Hut. I thought I'll go up there and I'll go do a sunset shot at Craig's Hut. Epic space, beautiful drive up there. On the drive up there, I took the family and the kids. We took a bit of a night. We had picnic dinner and stuff like that. We made a bit of a day of it, and we're driving up there. It was just one of those sunsets, just going off with the big fluffy red clouds and pink clouds going off. And I pulled the car over. I'm like, snaps. I'm like, what's going on? Why is nothing on the screen? No memory card at all. So I was 2 hours from home where I was staying with no memory card. In the end, here's a tip for you. In the end, I pulled out the memory card out of my car's navigation system and put it in my camera and got shots on that memory card. And I only needed a few shots, but I was shattered. But I had to accept that I'd stuffed up and missed out on a really special moment. So that tip you've given about making sure you've got an extra memory card or at least one in the camera. Huge tip. Little pro tip from me. Memory's so cheap now. It's ridiculous. Like you can get a 32 gigabyte. It's less than $1 a gigabyte, right? Even for a pretty high speed card. So, next time you're at your local camera store or wherever you are, wherever you buy your memory cards from, buy 2 spare memory cards. Yeah, they're cheap as chips. Leave them in their packaging. Slide one in the back of your backpack or your camera bag, and put the other one in the glove box of your car. Yeah, you'll thank me later. Yeah, that's a great. I think you told me that tip a few years ago. I think that was your tip to me. The amount of times that has saved. Yeah, that's right. The amount of times that has saved my ass when I've been out trying to take landscape photos, and it's like, and again, it's a sinking feeling. It's like, I'm going to miss this, and then leg it back to the car, and hey, there's that memory card sitting there. So very handy. I'm going to order a memory card off you after this, and all right, done. Very good. That's a good one. Right. My next little tip we sort of touched on it briefly just in the first tip I did, is don't always go into the trap of shooting wide angle. A lot of people just think, well, landscape has to be wide angle, and here I am sitting in front of a photo that's wide angle, so not a great example. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone thinks that landscape photography has to be wide angle. Some of the nicest photos I think I've taken, I reckon a lot of them are at the 200mm or the 300mm focal length, because it just puts your viewer in a completely different location of where you're standing. So wide angle's great, but like you touched on before, having an array of lenses in your kit, wide angle, telephoto, macro, ultra wide, whatever it might be, having them at your disposal, it's just an extra tool in your kit. It's like a carpenter has a hammer and nails and all the other tools they use. Having other lenses it comes in handy, because I can guarantee you, if you take just the one wide angle lens and you go to a location like the one behind us, guarantee you that Mother Nature will go, well, you don't have a telephoto? Right, I'm going to do something awesome at 300mm over in the back of your shot there that you can't get. You can't crop it out because you don't have a sensor the size of A4. So yeah, don't get sucked into the full wide angle. Always take something extra with you and play around with them. Practice on both wide angle and telephoto as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that one. And to that end as well, you don't necessarily have to lug a lot of lenses around these days. Tamron, for example, make their 18 to 270, which is a very, very big range. Okay, it's not the world's sharpest lens, and it's not the world's brightest lens either. But if you just want to be able to carry relatively small amount of gear, you could really get away with just the 18 to 270, particularly if you're hiking to somewhere like over your shoulder, Cam, or if you're going on a long city walk or something like that. Well, the 18 to 270 covers quite a good range, so that could be an option as well. This Absolutely. Podcast is not sponsored
by anyone still. Well, it's funny you said I'm going to do a plug for Olympus, because they don't sponsor us either. But
that's unlike you to do a plug for Olympus, Cam.
Yeah. Well, I've done so I do the overland track hike as part of my business. I take photographic tours there, and we hike for 6 days and carry all our gear. And I've done that track well over 20 times over the last 15 years. And I finally have a lens that I take with me now. Usually I take a few different lenses with me. I have one lens now that I know covers that track and mostly any other hiking track I go on, and that's the Olympus 12 to 100 f4. It is the most perfect hiking lens of all time, because you've got 24mm equivalent wide up to 200mm f4. You can do astro at night. You can do really nice sort of shallow depth of field shots. It's weatherproof. It's got image stabilizer built into it. It's a cracking lens. So that's my one hiking lens, which is exactly like you said. It covers all ranges, and just does the job. So, but yeah, I think mixing up your telephoto, mixing up your focal lengths, and playing around in landscape. Don't just get stuck into wide angle. Otherwise, all you're going to do is get wide angle shots.
And the 12 to 100 f4 is one of their pro lenses as well, so it has all the good coatings and stuff on it, and the outstanding build quality. But you're exactly right. I've actually sold that lens a couple of times in the last week, and it's got a nice feel about it. It's not doesn't weigh a ton, but it's still got that solid feel about it.
Yeah.
Whereas the 18 to 270 I mentioned is a bit more sort of plasticky. It's lightweight, but it doesn't have that solid feel and therefore good balance about it. So when you're shooting handheld, I think you'd like the 12. Well, you obviously have it, but the 12 to 100 feels good when you're shooting. It's a decent amount of lens without being too big or too small, but covering that great big focal range.
And what I love about it as well is when I hike, I have on my backpack on, but I have my snoop case or my triangular camera case on the front, and it just fits perfectly with that lens in there. Like sometimes the lenses can be a bit small and it sort of sinks into the bag. You got to really reach in. That one is just the length of it works perfect for me. So anyone that likes their hiking and sort of going for it doesn't have to be stupidly big hikes, but little hikes on their trips, that lens covers a lot in one lens, and you don't have to worry about taking heaps of gear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the manufacturers now have those sort of lenses available. So that's your second tip. This is my second tip. Whenever I go out, so as soon as you get in the car and you think, or you start your walk or whatever, and you're wanting to go out and take photos, it's always really important, I think, to have a basic plan. So for example, if you know your local area, or if you're in a new area, having a good look around beforehand. So those bright sunny days, like we said before, where it's probably not best to be shooting landscape, well, that time could be spent having a look around and working out, okay, the sun's going to set over yonder, you know exactly where the sun's going to go down, for example, and how the light's going to transition across your scene as the hours move by. We mentioned, it might have even been way back in episode 1, we talked about photo pills, the photo pills app that can show you exactly where the sun's going to set and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
You've also then added a massive advantage, because if you can see bad weather coming, or you can see high cloud coming that's going to give you a nice reflective sunset and that sort of stuff, you can position yourself, and you're not doing what I do when I get to those locations of running around like a headless chicken trying to capture 40 different angles of the one landscape and really making a mess of all of them.
Yeah.
You're focusing on one particular shot with a pre-planned, predetermined outcome in your mind. So it gives you a bit of confidence moving forward, rather than that panic that can set in right on that magic moment.
I think it's that's excellent. I think I find I try and make a plan, but I find with me it's 50-50. I sometimes I make the best plans of all time, like I'm going to hike into there, or the weather looks good, I'm going to go there, and it all just goes pear-shaped and nothing happens. So I find that having a base plan, like you said, is definitely excellent thing to do, because it just focuses you before you get there. Okay, this is what I'm going to shoot, this is what I'm hoping for, this is what the weather's looking like, this is the lens I'm going to use, yada yada yada. But then on the flip side of that, sometimes those spontaneous things where you don't plan anything and you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, it just happens. But more often than not, I think if you're planning your outings and planning your locations and what gear you're going to use, it's only going to help you get that shot in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount of times where that's happened, where the magic happens, and we've used that term before, where it just, you're at a beautiful location, the light is just happening. If you've pre-planned and you've used my first tip, which was to check your gear regularly and all that sort of stuff, then you're way in front, and you're going to be able to capture those moments. And we've talked before about the rush and the buzz you get. Now, whether or not you get a great photo is another story. That's all about execution and listening to all our other tips and going on one of Cam's workshops and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, if you've got a basic plan in place, as I say, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just common sense as well. If you go with no plan, more often than not, you're going to just fluff around and miss things, or be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So
yeah, because as much of a high as it can be when you nail that shot, it can also be a real bummer when you go, I am in the wrong spot, and I am not going to get to where I need to be in time. Yeah,
and you kick yourself for, and especially these days as well, it happens a lot where you see, oh geez, I wish I should have gone there, probably been great, and you see someone else's shot pop up on social media, and it's just like mind-blowing. You're like, oh my god, I should have just not been lazy and gone. So yeah, but it's actually make a plan. My last little tip in regards to traps not to get into when you're shooting landscapes, try and avoid the busy times as well. So school holidays, if you pick a location like the Some Apostles, or the 12 Apostles as we refer to them, if you're going to go there smack bang in the middle of school holidays, then you can expect to be smack bang in the middle of a crowd while you're there taking photos, and that just limits your ability to get a good spot, or get a shot without people in it, or even just the matter of just being able to focus without all the distractions of people around you. So I always try and shoot if I'm going to go to a location that's got some sort of notoriety to it, I try and stay away from the real busy periods. Weekends, I guess, weekends are obviously usually busy anyway if you can avoid them, but school holidays and things like that also to avoid. But I think as well, if you go there in the early morning or late afternoon, you'll find that the crowds dwindle off pretty quickly as people are getting ready to go home for dinner, or people are still in bed and not out in the field yet. And it's classic when we do the Cradle Mountain workshop. We are down by Dove Lake getting that classic shot every morning, and we'll have the place to ourselves. It's one of the most famous places in the world to shoot, but people just sleep in and stay at the hotel. The only people you see are people with tripods. There's no big crowds, and as soon as the buffet breakfast stops and the buses start running, there's like hordes of people coming in, and you're on your way out. You've already got a good shot. So avoid the crowded times. Try and plan it around when it's not going to be crazy busy with people everywhere, and and social distancing as well.
Yeah. Nice little way to throw that in. Yeah,
Public announcements by us.
Nice. Yeah, that tip of shooting sunrise, it's always a winner. Like as you say, normally 9 times out of 10, it's just crazy photographers out there.
Yeah.
Or rowers or runners or something like that, and sometimes it can sometimes be a hindrance because quite often you're there photographing one particular spot and there are a couple of other photographers there.
Yeah.
But look, most of the time people are pretty cool. You can, and you can clone them out. Photoshop's wonderful for that sort of stuff.
I reckon we've got another episode in horror stories of locations and interactions with other photographers. I've got some interesting stories about around Tassie. I've heard people going out to shoot Milky Way and Aurora shots and rocking up to a location and being quite forcefully told to leave because this is their spot and no one else will get there, and it happens all around Australia. But that's maybe for another episode.
Yeah, and that's a little bit sad. But anyway,
it is.
So nice. That was good. So to avoid the busy times, that's good. So my last tip on this subject would, for now, until we cover it again in a future episode, would be don't settle for one location. And by that I mean, and this also goes back to my previous tip of planning as well, have options. So when you get to a spot, see, just looking at that scene behind you, for example, Cam, I can see about 40 compositions behind you. Yeah. So having the ability to give up on a particular shot if you just if it's not going to work, and be able to move quickly can be really really advantageous when you're trying to take good landscape photos. So what I say in my workshops is I always ask myself the question, hey, what's over there? When I've got the camera in my hand or I'm looking through the camera, people quite often will sort of get to a spot and they'll just stop. They might set up their tripod and it's almost like they've put down an anchor. It's like, well, this is where I'm going to be. Well, sometimes it takes a bit of work where you're going to have to pick that tripod up and go for a bit of a walk, or just go for a walk with your camera handheld. Yeah. And I'm not talking about go a kilometre away. I'm talking literally within maybe a 100 square metre area of where you actually are. Yeah. And just looking around at, okay, what's going to give me a good foreground, what's going to give me a good surface for light to reflect off, and things like that. Things like wet rocks are fantastic for that sort of stuff. That's why I reference that photo behind you. And when you go down to the beach as well, like looking at what the tide's doing and what's the tide going to be like in half an hour or in an hour, and how it's affecting the sand patterns and things like that. That's something I picked up the other week when I was down your way along the Great Ocean Road, was just watching those waves come in and just the pattern they were creating on the way out, on the way in, and just like I said, sometimes it's just a matter of sitting there and having a look around. And I do the same thing when I teach. One of the biggest rules I'm like is switch the camera off and look behind you, look down, look up. It's almost like a safety thing in a way. Like, have a look at your surroundings, what's around you, know your bearings, where you are. So when it does get dark, you know how to get back to your car. But that also gives you a bit of a heads up as to, okay, that mountain over there looks pretty cool. That there's a river running there, I didn't know that. Or there's a big giant rock and a tree behind us, that might work. So yeah, landscape photography really shouldn't be just the 45 degrees you're facing forward. It should be 360 degrees what's around you. And like I said, you don't have to be thinking, oh well, there's a river there, but there's a mountain 2k's up the track, I'll go there first and I'll come back here. You can make 1,000 photos out of, like you said, 100 metre square area. You just got to be aware of what's around you and be prepared to look for it. Yeah, and I was down on the beach during the week, and because once again we had some whales sighted off the coast. The southern right whales were back. And there was a mother whale and its calf, and the photographer in me now seems to just come naturally, of course, because I've been doing it for so long. But I really like that. It's like I'll get to the location, and of course there was a lookout, and there was about 40 other people there, all with their phones, and and that's great. It was so cool to see people out and about and watching the whales, which was really cool. Yeah. But straight away I've looked at it and gone, okay, if I go up the beach that way 500 meters, I'm going to have the possibility of getting a photo of a whale in front of the Barwon Heads Bluff. Yeah. Now, it's one thing to have a photo of a whale out at sea. That's cool. But if you've got it in front of an iconic local location that everyone knows, well, that's going to attract more attention and be a better photo.
Yeah.
It just is, because people are going to...
It's more interesting.
Yeah, people are going to identify it as their own backyard, and therefore, as it turned out, it didn't work that way. Because they're whales, right? So
they're row control whales.
No, they're not. They're not. And so I wandered up the beach, and there was some beautiful surf rolling in as well, and it was really quite pretty. And so here I am, and I could see the spout of the whale, like it was doing a puff thing, and it was right in front of where I wanted it to be. And I'm like, okay, now I'm too low. Yeah. I couldn't have both.
And you forgot your memory card and your battery, and you only had a wide angle lens, and
well,
here we go.
do you remember the text I sent you when I was down on the beach? Yeah.
I think I can remember roughly what it was.
Yes, my Canon, the Canon that I was using completely died.
Yeah,
it just.
We're not sponsored by Canon either. Just letting you know.
Thank God for that. Their cameras are crap. No. I take that back. Sorry.
We've learned how to bleep things, haven't we?
Oh, we've just lost half our audience. Sorry. Yeah. No. I'm kidding.
They're Canon users. We don't want them anyway.
This Canon camera I was using is about 400 years old, and it was totally on me. It was just I happened to have. I don't know, I think it's a Sigma 150 to 600 mil lens, because I wanted to shoot the whales, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the only body I had was this old clapped out Canon 700D.
Yeah.
And I had it in my camera bag, and I took the lens off, and it started taking photos by itself.
Well, it's that smart of a camera. Intelligence of Canon is just...
It was bizarre. Like, it's just... and the camera wasn't even turned on, man. And it's just going... And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. It doesn't help me at all, but it's pretty cool.
That's a cool feature.
Yeah, so I had to literally rip the battery pack off it for it to stop taking photos.
That's very weird.
It was bizarre. So then I had to hike it back to the shop, get another Canon body, put that on, and And then, of course, I did... I don't even follow my own advice here. I got some. I must say, I got a couple of cool shots of young kids surfing. Like I was in front of the Barwon Heads Bluff, so that they were really cool. And again, a good editor might put one up on the screen right now, but who knows if that happened. Hello to our podcast listeners again. And so I shot these photos, and went back up the stairs. I thought, okay, we're done here. The light's really bad, and I looked across to the horizon. There was a bit of bank of clouds, so I bailed on it. Drove home, got into my driveway. Hey presto, best sunset of the year.
I'm telling you now, Mother Nature just screws with photographers. She just knows. Like, if you're having a crappy photography experience, that she's going to turn it on. Guarantee it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think just to touch on that in regards to don't settle for one location as well, and again, like you just said, you made that effort to walk up the beach to try and get the whale shot. I always say to people that effort equals reward in photography. If you put that little bit of extra hard yards in, or go that little bit further, or think a bit more, or plan better, or whatever the effort you put in, I can guarantee you your photos will improve with more effort you put in. So
I completely agree, and to that, just expanding on that a little bit as well, the whole effort of getting up to shoot a sunrise. Now, sunrise at this time of year, where we are in southern Victoria, I think it's about 7:15. So this is such a user-friendly sunrise time. I mean, come on, that's fantastic.
Don't do what I did and run a Tarkine workshop in the middle of summer in Tasmania.
What time is the sunrise, Cam?
About 10 to 5.
Yep.
First, we were up at 4:30 in the morning, and the sun doesn't drop off. The light doesn't drop off till about 10:15.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It was brutal.
But let's say it's, what was that?
Poor planning.
Yes, poor planning. Yeah. But I've never once regretted getting up to shoot a sunrise, even if I've come back with no photos. Because one of the common threads through all of our podcasts have always been the kick that you get, or the thrill of the chase when you're out shooting landscapes. So good for you, so good for your mental well-being. So if you set yourself a goal, even if it's once a month, I'm going to get up and I'm going to shoot the sunrise. I mean, that's so 12 times a year. That's not hard to do.
It's not hard. No,
Just,
I think
you know,
I think we've worked out if we do a workshop together. I think you'll be doing sunrises and I'll be doing sunsets.
Yeah.
If I had my time again, I would not be a landscape photographer because I hate getting up early in the morning. And yes, you do it. I have to force myself every time to do it. But getting up early in the morning for me, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm not an early riser. I'm happy to get up at normal time, but just those really silly early mornings to get up and drive somewhere and get a photo. But then it pays itself in dividends because I'll generally get a nice photo or something like that after I make the effort, and you go, okay, well, it's worth it. So. Yeah,
no, it always is, and I am not a religious person, but there is something spiritual, I think, about seeing the sunrise. It does it's something magical about it that lifts your spirits. So
it means you've made it to another day.
Well, there is that, and in this day and age, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tomorrow morning, wherever you're listening to this podcast, you are going to go out and you are going to shoot the sunrise, all right? So
and they're going to then share them on our Facebook page.
Oh,
there's a challenge for people. We're 30 odd minutes into this podcast. Usually people are still listening by now. I think what we might do is we might set. I'm going to do something just completely ad hoc here. All right.
I love it, mate. I love it when you go rogue. I'm
going to do a photo. We're going to do a sunrise competition, and I'm going to give a print away.
Oh,
I've got some prints that someone delivered to me the other day. I've got some prints here. So here's the task. You've got until episode 9. Let's say you've got till episode 11 to produce a sunrise shot and post it to our Facebook page, which is the Down South Photo Show, which you'll find in Facebook and in the links. Post up your best sunrise shot. It has to be shot in the month of August, so you can't pull one out of the archives. It's got to be done from this episode onwards. And I will send them what size are those prints you did for me? 16 by 24?
They were 16 by 24 inches. They're big prints. They were beautiful too, by the way. They printed up so well.
I'll send you one of my prints, personally signed, to your front door if you do that. So, I don't know.
Sorry, how are we picking a winner?
We're going to pick a winner on one of the episodes. I know it's visual, but we'll...
we'll pick it. We'll pick it live.
We'll pick it... Actually, there you go. Our next live episode, we'll announce the winner. We'll announce the winner, and then Brendan, with his editing skills, will produce that winning image on the screen during the live edit.
Live? Oh, yeah. Okay. I like a challenge. That'll teach me something.
Yeah. So I've gone way off script there, and I've completely...
No, I love it. So, by my reckoning, this episode will go live on Friday the 6th of August.
Yep.
Episode 10 will go live on Friday the 13th of August, Friday the 13th of August.
Yep.
So you have got until Friday the 20th of August, 2021, for those listening in the future, to produce a sunrise image. And it has to be sunrise image, is that what you're saying?
It has to be sunrise image. And, if we're going to get real smart, we will look at your metadata. Don't think you can trick us over there if we know how to get into that. But yeah, so by the 20th of August, was that right?
By the 20th of August, we're going to have,
and we're going to do a live episode around that time.
Yep.
And that's when we'll announce the winner, and the winner will get a signed 16 by 24 print of mine. It'll be a Tasmanian shot from somewhere, and the print will be sent to you directly to your door. So we'll put that out there. I've put that out there. We're running a competition, friends.
I love it. Well, considering in episode whatever it was, early days, we gave away some cleaning cloths that I've only just dispatched.
That's fine.
Don't. You might get your print for Christmas if you win the comp. All right.
No. I'm going to put it in my diary right now.
Oh, look at him go! Look at this guy. He's all over it. He's actually typing as we speak.
I'm typing it in my calendar. Yeah. Photo comp day. Yeah. So that's we'll put that in the show notes, and we'll put that all over there, and it has to be done. Has to be posted on our Facebook page, otherwise we won't see it.
Love it, and I can't wait to argue with you over which one should win it.
Yeah, that should make for great viewing.
which segues really poorly into Dear Cam. We have a Dear Cam question, Cameron.
We do. I've heard it's a doozy too.
Well, it is, and we did give you a little heads up on this one because there's a few moving parts to this one, but. Let's go with, this was Kay from South Adelaide. Hi guys, I have a post-processing question. This is Kay speaking. I shoot RAW, of course, but sometimes when I bring it into Lightroom, I find there is nothing on the RAW file that needs processing, having shot it the way I wanted. Now, first of all,
That's bravo.
well done for getting a shot the way you wanted, because I don't think I've ever done that. But anyway, I have heard, so she continues, Kate, I have heard at the very least I should be increasing the saturation or luminance, as a RAW file can be flat, but is there anything else that you should really do before saving the file into a format for printing? Sorry for the long-winded question, but it is a very, very good question.
Yeah.
There you go, dear Cam. What do you think of that one?
Well, thank you, Kay. I think I know which Kay that is as well. And I think I might have put her location wrong. I don't know. I think she's Adelaide or maybe South Australia somewhere. I don't know exactly, but that's my bad. She's from that beautiful state of South Australia that I just recently visited. So, yeah, well, anyone shooting RAW, and hopefully everyone does shoot RAW for their landscape photography. Obviously, RAW comes into your computer uncompressed, so it's generally a little bit flatter, a little bit lacking in color, a little bit lacking in contrast. So if you're getting RAW files into your computer that you're pretty much happy with out of the camera, that's excellent. That means you're doing a lot of good things in the field, and you're making sure your histogram and your highlights and shadows are all not being ruined and getting captured properly. I know with my RAW files, if I get a really nice file out of camera, as with Kay said, there's generally not much you should have to do with them if it's a really nice file, but I'll always adjust exposure a tad. I'll always play around with the contrast a bit, and highlights and shadows, and just make sure everything's fine. But when I'm preparing them for printing, the one thing I look to manage most, and this is where you'll probably have more of a bit more of a background on this, Brendan, than I will, but I always make sure that I don't overdo the colors too much, because I know when people slide color saturation levels way too big or way too small, that printing stock and inks and papers can really actually struggle to print those colors. They fall out of color profiles and setups for printers. So my advice would be, if you're getting shots that are good and you're happy with, and you're getting that little bit of contrast control and exposure control and your saturation that Kay's mentioned, the one thing I'd be looking at is just making sure that your colors aren't going out of control. And there is a function in Lightroom where you can actually do what's called a proof, which will actually show you, based on the color profile you're shooting as, it'll actually show you whether or not there's any colors that are going to fall outside that profile, which may cause issues for wonderful people like Brendan printing your shots. And the other thing I look at when I'm getting stuff ready on a RAW file is just be careful of your sharpening as well. You can sometimes over sharpen images and they'll start looking a bit whack when you start printing them. But okay, if you're getting shots out of your camera RAW that you're really happy with and you're doing minimal work to them, you've obviously listened very well at workshops that you may have attended, and I'd just be careful. Just watch that color and watch that sharpness when you're printing. But Brendan's probably got a better insight on that because he does print a lot.
Yeah, well, for sure, because I've got a lot of experience with printing. This all comes back to monitor calibration. Monitor calibration is absolutely crucial if you print a lot, or if you've got particular images that are fantastic and you want to actually print them. Calibrating your monitor is crucial, and doing it regularly is crucial, just to give you consistency, so that when you send your images off to a lab, and generally speaking, most of the time you're going to be working in the RGB or sRGB color space, which is pretty, I'm not going to say it's universal, but it's very, very well used and well known by a lot of people who have access to Adobe products, who will be shooting in these color spaces. And most cameras will shoot in Adobe RGB or sRGB. And what Cam was getting at there in terms of colors falling out of range, if you like, that's reference to your the gamut that your printer can print at. Yeah. So generally speaking, what will happen is your printer can supply you with the ICC profile that they print in. You can look at that on your screen, and you can set it with a gamut warning, like Cam was talking about, where it will actually show you, it'll flash little areas of your photo that are outside the gamut range of your printer.
Yeah.
So, and of course, every profile that we print on is different depending on the paper stock that we're using. So we have a different profile for canvas, a different profile for smooth pearl, which is a very common paper that we print on. Your rag papers, they all have different profiles that we use. Having said that, if I ever receive an image from anyone, particularly someone who I know is doing quite a big enlargement or a big canvas and they're spending a lot of money on their print, if I don't think it's going to work, I will tell you. Which I think has dropped off a lot with a lot of print places, and that's probably got to do with volume, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there's no way I'm going to go ahead and print a photo if I look at it and go, hang on a minute, something's wrong with the saturation here, or that area's blown out, or I'll send you a quick text message or just a call and say, hey, by the way, this is what's going on with your image. Are you happy to proceed, or do you want me to make some changes? A lot of people are happy for me to make changes to their images because for some reason people trust me with their
Strange.
I know, weird world in which we live. And look, as I say, 9 times out of 10 the files are totally fine, but I like to let people know when that's not the case. But getting all the way back to Kay's question, I think Cam hit the nail on the head, and that is always have a look at them on a monitor that is calibrated, so that you then know that what you're actually seeing and sending to the printer is what you're going to get back. Yeah,
and I think just to finish on that as well, that's the difference between having someone like yourself print images versus your local, Quickie Mart, Kmart, Harvey Norman printer, whatever it might be. I was trying to put names out there that wasn't going to get us in trouble, but no, too bad. But having someone who's a proper printer versus just those quick prints, you will look at files, you will critique them, you will say, hey, that's maybe not going to work or will work, and whether or not your customer takes you up on that, but that's that extra level of scrutiny or level of service that you give in regards to what you print, which is why.
And the main reason I do that though is because if I produce a crummy print that's got blown out highlights and shadows everywhere and the saturation and noise and blah blah, the first thing that someone who looks at that photo is going to ask you is, oh, who printed that?
Yeah, that's right.
And we want to put out good work, so it's in my best interest to produce good looking prints for you. So there's a plug for my own business.
Hey, why not? You do a good job, and like I said, we're giving a print away of one of my images that you printed, so
there you go, bang.
Got to be happy with that. So anyway,
Nice.
I hope that helps, Kay. I think that's a great question, and like I said, we'll probably do a bit of an episode on RAW versus JPEG, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people still don't necessarily understand a lot when I get on workshops. It's like, well, what's the benefit of shooting RAW versus JPEG? So we might put that down as a topic in the upcoming episodes.
We certainly will. And as we mentioned earlier, if you've got a topic or indeed a Dear Cam question that you would like Cam to answer, by all means get in contact with us through our socials or leave a comment below, and we will do our best to accommodate. We are getting close to the end of the podcast, so we thought we'd just quickly recap on what we've been up to or what we've got coming up. Cam, have you got anything you want to chuck in here, or is it just been business as usual for you?
A little bit business as usual. I've just come back from Cradle Mountain today. I was up there for 2 days, shot a wedding up there actually. A good friend who I know listens to the podcast occasionally, maybe not as religiously as I'd like, but congratulations to her and her new husband. But we had a lovely day. The weather was looking a little bit shite, but it cleared up and the rain stopped, and we had beautiful, that misty, foggy Cradle Mountain look. So got some lovely shots with them. And then coming up, I've actually just started getting a few bookings for the Tarkine workshop at the end of the month. So that's definitely going ahead. I've got at least 3, if not 4 people booked in for that. So there's still room for a couple more people. If anyone listening wants to come on down to Tassie from, you're probably not going to come here from Sydney or Queensland, but from Victoria, that would work. Or if you're local Tasmanians, let me know. So that's about all I've got coming up for the moment. We announced the winner of the Beaker Street Science Prize later this week, so we'll be actually able to announce the winner on our next podcast of that as well. But that's it for my week. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mentioned really early on in the podcast a little experience I had with film during the week, and that was that I acquired a couple more film cameras during the week, bringing my total to about 8 film cameras that I now own.
Personally own, not shop cameras?
Personally, I bought them off. So we have a lot of people who bring me film cameras and ask if I want to buy them. And this week I managed to acquire another couple of Pentax MZ60s.
Yeah.
And I will. So what I'm doing at the moment is collecting secondhand film SLRs. And eventually, I will set up a page on my website where I'll be selling these things. So that's going to take a bit of time, but I'm making a conscious effort now to actually go out and collect them. And I think part of the reason why I'm doing it now is I'm getting them before they fall into disrepair. I'm seeing a lot of cameras that come in and they've... Oh, hello, what are you holding there? That looks like an Olympus OM.
OMSP. You and I have got film cameras galore.
Yes. I love film cameras. I love the mechanics of film. I love I really, really do like it. I don't like shooting on film. I'm Mr. Digital now. I shoot digital exclusively. I haven't shot a roll of film. I don't even know if I've done one this century. It's been a long time. Actually, that's a lie. No, early 2000s, I was still shooting film. So, but as I say, I love the mechanics. I love the aesthetics of the film camera, and generally speaking, they're built so well, and they're you get particularly the older. Your Pentax K1000. I love that camera. If anyone listening has got a Pentax K1000 they want to get rid of, send me a message, please. I'd be very interested to talk to you. It's the camera. It means a lot to me. The K1000. It's what I started my photography journey on.
Same.
And there you go. And I don't know where my K1000 went. And I so wish I could get it back, but I've hunted high and low and it's gone. But I can't remember what happened to it. But anyway, I want to get a K1000. If anyone's listening. That was a long-winded story. We also mentioned last week that I installed a new photo printer at the Torquay store. It is going so well, almost to the point where I want to just send all my jobs through the Torquay store. It's printing gorgeously. It's such a cool printer to play with. So that's working out well for us. And we're back in business. So fully opened at both stores. So that's been really cool too.
And I'm going to give a cheeky plug to your business just because I can.
Just one more.
Just one more, but anyone listening, and I know for a fact that people here in Tasmania have sent images to you, and people that have also live in Melbourne, but you can send files to Brendan from anywhere. He'll print them and he'll send them to you. So if you are sitting there scratching your head going, geez, where do I get my prints done? Because all I've got is Harvey Norman and Kmart in my local area, and I don't really want to go there, and I want to get my photos done professionally. It's simple as uploading a photo. This is the greatest plug of all time. It's as simple as uploading a photo, and Brendan prints it out and sends it back to you. So check his website out, and you can upload through his website. And the prints come out, and you'll see a difference between your local Kmart prints versus Brendan's printing. So get onto it, folks.
So that's cameraandphoto.com.au. Click on online prints, and away you go.
I'll take my little plug, my little promotional advert commission then.
Okay, I'll send you a couple of beers. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I think that sort of wraps up the podcast. Don't forget our impromptu photo competition that you have got until August 20th, 2021 to shoot a sunrise. Get out there, and Cam's gonna. If we choose your photo as being the best, Cam's gonna send you a print. How cool's that? I love it.
Very impromptu, but hey.
No, very cool. All right, mate. Thanks everyone for joining us on episode 9 of the Down South Photo Show. We will catch you next week. Cam, enjoy your week, and
thanks, mate.
We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.